Hi, and welcome to the instructional guide on LeaderCloud Tenant Reseller Setup. This guide is designed to assist partners who are either brand new tenant resellers or have existing accounts, which have been transitioned to your own tenant account. Before we get started, it is important to understand that there are two main components to your new account. The first is the Business Support System, which we refer to as a BSS. The second part is your newly created storefront. Think of the BSS as your back-end management system, and the storefront as the marketplace which customers use to self-manage their subscriptions. You are encouraged to watch this video while setting up your account. We will intermittently prompt you to apply changes and enter settings as we go along. This should make it easier for partners to complete their setup in the fastest way possible. The initial setup of your account is mostly done via the BSS, with the storefront being enabled based on the settings which you apply here. So, let's get started. The first page which you will be presented with is the Tenant Reseller Login page. To access the BSS, you will have been provided with a client ID, username and password. If you have not received this information, please contact your LeaderCloud representative. Now that you have successfully logged in, you will be presented with quite a few options, some of which might not make sense right away. Don't worry, we are going to work through each component separately, and although some parts of this training might feel out of sequence, this is done on purpose, and it allows us to start working on the components you need to set up first. The BSS system also has two main components. The first is the management interface, which is used for the day-to-day operations of your cloud platform. The second component is the setup page, which is mostly used for initially setting up your storefront, payment gateways, organization profiles, etc. During the next steps, we are going to require several resources to complete the setup. We will cover each point individually, but you should start preparing the following resources now, so they are ready when required. Firstly, if you are intending to charge the end customers via their credit cards, you will require your own payment gateway. We recommend using Stripe, as it's already fully integrated with LeaderCloud. Should you wish to use another payment gateway, it is possible, however some development would be required. We can happily share the API and integration information as needed for third-party payment gateways. Next, you will require a functioning mail server, with an email address which will be used as the main point of communication from your cloud platform to your end users. Another resource which will be required is a high-resolution copy of your company logo. This will go onto your emails, notifications, storefront and even the BSS. It is also recommended to have access to marketing resources which can assist with branding activities, such as web banners, etc. You will also need to designate the contact details for your support team, keeping in consideration that these team members need functional knowledge of both the BSS, storefront, and Microsoft's own Partner Center. Lastly, it's recommended to prepare at least some basic terms and conditions for your storefront. It is recommended to pause here now and prepare the resources as needed. We also need to answer a few basic questions, which will help determine how the portal needs to be deployed. The key questions to have in mind are as follows. 1. Will all customers be billed strictly on their credit card, or will you be extending credit terms to them? If you are intending to extend credit terms, which terms are you planning to impose? 2. Will you be handling all billing reminders and subscription suspensions yourself, or do you want the platform to automate this? 3. Will you be listing all the products available through CSP, or are you going to select only the products you wish to sell and support? 4. Will you be using your own URL for the storefront, or just a LeaderCloud subdomain? 5. Will you be allowing anonymous end users to purchase subscriptions or products from your storefront? 6. How will support issues be handled in cases where the end user gets stuck during provisioning? 7. What pricing are you intending to use? Will you strictly be selling at Microsoft's retail price? Again, we recommend pausing now to decide on the best course of action for these points. Okay, now that we've covered the basic requirements and questions, let's start setting up. The first port of call for most resellers is to start with the storefront. To get to your storefront, navigate to Setup, and the button is shown. Next, you can click on System Options. Next, you can scroll down to Storefront Configuration. In the General tab, The first change we need to apply is the storefront page title, which would normally be changed to your business name. Next we need to set the storefront base URL. If you are intending to use LeaderCloud as the base URL, you can simply leave this as it is, and set the storefront alias via the option as shown, to be your own business name. When intending to use your own URL, as the main URL for your storefront, simply enter a dummy base URL, and storefront alias here. We will configure your own URL, via the new storefront tab, and your IIS server instead. Now we need to decide if we are going to display the prices shown in the storefront as inclusive of GST, or exclusive. If you leave this option unticked, the default behavior is to show the prices exclusive of GST, until the customer adds the subscription to the cart, in which case the GST will be calculated and added. We can also choose to display the invoices which are generated on your cloud platform, to your end users. Some businesses prefer not to use the invoices which are generated on the cloud platform as their main invoices to the customer, for ERP purposes. This, however, remains your decision. As mentioned previously, we now need to decide if we are going to enable anonymous users with access to your storefront. You can also decide what information is shown to an end user should you wish to enable anonymous access. With the Enable Anonymous Access button unticked, end users navigating to your storefront will be presented with a login page before being able to access the storefront. With the Enable Anonymous Access button ticked, end customers will by default be able to see your storefront, the various subscriptions available, etc., but not the pricing. If you wish to show the pricing to any visitor to your storefront, simply tick the button and pricing options as shown. It's important to note that even with anonymous access turned on, users will not be able to make any purchases without logging in. For this reason, we need to decide if we are going to allow end-user self-registration or not. If the option to allow self-registration is left unticked, the BSS administrator will have to create each end-user account manually. When enabling self-registration, you also need to decide if approval is required for every new registration. With the Requires Approval tick box checked, all new registration requests will prompt an email to the BSS administrator for approval. We will set up the rest of the settings in this page later. For now we can navigate to the rebranding section as shown. The rebranding page allows you to customize most aspects of your storefront, such as color schemes, background colors, etc. We will leave this up to your own interpretation. In this page it's important to change the login page logo and storefront header, as shown. By default, the LeaderCloud logos are inherited via the tenant reseller setup. Simply click on the Click to Replace button to change the logo to your own logos. Next we can navigate to the Banners section. Here, we can adjust the banners which are shown on the storefront, and the information shown in the Contact Us section. By default the banners are inherited from LeaderCloud. To act as an example, banners can be displayed under various sections of your storefront, such as your home page, apps and services, offers, etc. At the very bottom of the page you have the option to enable or disable the Contact Us link via the tick box as shown. Again, by default this option is enabled, with the LeaderCloud banner as example. Next we can navigate to the Privacy Policy and Terms of Use tab. The first option we have is whether we want the privacy policy to be shown to the end users before registering. You also have the option of adding your own privacy policy statement. The cloud platform can show both terms of use and a privacy notice, depending on your organizational requirements. By default the LeaderCloud terms of use are copied to the tenant reseller account for sample purposes. You can adapt this as required. Next, we can navigate to the New Storefront tab. As mentioned previously, we now have the option to change the storefront URL if wanted. Should you wish to change the base URL of your storefront, you can enter it in the Storefront v4 base URL section as shown. This URL needs to be the same as your IIS URL. For further information on the configuration changes required for your IIS server, please contact your LeaderCloud representative. You can visit your new storefront at any time via the Visit Storefront button as shown. By default, the storefront will use an older template which is recommended to change. To change the storefront template, simply click on the template option as shown, and select the Nebula template. It's also recommended to change the default theme to the blue theme instead. You now also have the option to apply your own custom footer if wanted. As part of the tenant reseller setup, certain customized CSS and JavaScripts are inherited from LeaderCloud. It's recommended to remove the scripts as shown, in order to enable password change requests which are disabled in LeaderCloud by default. Customized scripts can be set up as required here. Lastly, we have the option to enable or disable Level 1 or Level 2 caching as shown. The completed steps generally represents everything that needs to be configured for a successful storefront deployment, except for the featured and new products sections. We will cover this in more detail when we get to the products section of your cloud platform. We now need to navigate back to the system's options as shown. It's recommended to set up your payment gateway as the next step. To do this, simply navigate to the Payment Gateways button as shown. Next, simply click Add. You can now select your preferred payment gateway from the list, if an existing integration exists. If you are intending to use a payment gateway which is not listed, kindly contact your LeaderCloud representative as some integration work might be required. As mentioned before, Stripe is the preferred gateway for LeaderCloud, and we are going to select this option from our list. At this point it is recommended to reach out to the Stripe sales team if you have not done so already. They should assist you with setting up your account and payment gateway respectively. Once your Stripe account is set up, you should have access to the keys as shown, from your Stripe portal. It's important to note that both sets of keys are required for this setup. Please be sure to tick the credit card, live mode and active tick boxes as shown. The signing secret key field can be left blank. Once done, simply click on the Add Gateway button. Now that we have a payment gateway added, we need to adjust our payment methods. Simply navigate to Payment Methods as shown. By default, your tenant reseller account will have 7, 14 and 30-day credit terms options, as well as credit card payments. The options here relate back to what we discussed earlier in whether extending credit terms to your customers is an option. It is important to understand that LeaderCloud still expects payment in line with your own account and payment terms. Changes applied here strictly affect your cloud platform end users. In addition to setting the payment options, we can also adjust the payment options per end user, on a per account level. In other words, some end customers can have credit terms while others pay via credit card. Should you wish to extend credit terms to the end customers, the Payment Days option flexibly allows you to set your credit terms options. You can delete or add any payment option as preferred. Generally, it is preferred to bill the end customers via credit card. To do this, we can navigate to the credit cards option as shown, where we need to select the payment gateway we have set up. Simply click on the drop-down list and select your payment gateway. It's also recommended to set credit card payments as the default payment method. This in turn will prompt all end users to enter their credit card as billing option when attempting to check out a subscription, if they do not have any other payment method set up. It's also recommended to leave the storefront use tick box checked. If you have previously chosen to enable end user self-registration, we recommend using the default payment method tick box as shown. This will enable the default payment method which we have selected, in this instance credit cards, for every new account that is created. If no default payment method is selected, it will create problems when attempting to purchase a subscription. During the setup process you may wish to create more users within the BSS, to assist with branding, account setup etc. To do this, we need to navigate to the Users section of the BSS setup, and then click on Users List. Here you can create up to 10 individual users within your organization, each with differing administrative privileges. Simply click on Add, and then enter the fields as shown. The user permissions as shown below should be self-explanatory. However, for any assistance on this point, you are welcome to reach out to your LeaderCloud representative. It is recommended to set up at least one other account which can be accessed by your marketing team, as their input will likely be required for the next steps. As part of the rebranding exercise, we also need to rebrand the invoices and notifications which are generated on your cloud platform. We are going to start with the invoice template. We just need to navigate to the printout templates as shown. By default, most tenant resellers will only use the invoice template, which we can navigate to now. Almost all templates can be edited via What You See Is What You Get editors. For the invoice template, it's recommended to apply your own branding preferences, enter your organization details within the given space, and leave the rest of the parameters as they are, unless you are wanting to set up the invoices in a specific and different format. Once done, we can simply click on the Save and Close option. Should you wish to preview the template, the option will only become available once an invoice has been generated on the platform. Next, we need to rebrand the notifications which will be sent to the end customers from your cloud platform. Simply navigate to Notifications, and then Customer Notifications. You will now be presented with various notifications which needs to be customized and adjusted to your organization profile. We are only going to look at one of these notifications as the format and changes for each notification will be relatively the same. Unless there are specific fields and options you wish to apply with each notification, it's recommended to mainly focus on the From and Subject fields, while also changing the logo or banner at the top of your notifications. In certain notifications, contact information is also included as part of the notification to help in case of errors. Please be sure to change this as needed. Your tenant reseller account by default inherits the same notifications as Leader Cloud, which can serve as a template. Please pay careful attention to change all references on these notifications to your own organization, to avoid confusion. The logo and banner simply needs to be 150 by 159 pixels and can be changed as a simple hyperlink via the HTML function as shown. Similar to the invoices, all editing is done via What You See Is What You Get editor. Once done, simply click Save, and be sure to work through all the notifications listed. It's recommended to ignore the Avalara notifications as these are not relevant to Leader Cloud. Within the setup page there are a wide range of options and customizable fields which can still be set. However, this covers all points necessary within the setup page for the moment. We will return to the setup section again once we are ready to make your cloud platform fully active. For now, we can exit the setup as shown. As the next step, we need to set up our products which we intend to make available for our end customers. Tenant reseller accounts have access to all products available in Leader Cloud, by default. The only exception to this is Legacy Azure and Azure Plan, which is enabled on request. Leader will also automatically create all relevant new products from Microsoft and make this available to tenant resellers once a month. Tenant resellers have the option to enable or disable these products as required. It is important to understand the relationship between products and price lists at this point. Generally, the products segment of the portal is used to manage product descriptions, storefront settings, features, terms of use and so forth. Although pricing can be adjusted on a per product level, it's generally recommended to handle all pricing changes via the price list feature, as changes can be applied en masse. It is also important to understand how products are categorized in your cloud platform. Normally a specific product will also belong to a product group. Think of the product group as the container in which we bundle all the related products, to make it easier to search. As an example, on your storefront you will see Microsoft 365 Business, which is the main product group. When clicking on the product group you will be presented with a range of subscription options. As can be seen, we have Microsoft 365 Business Basic as a product, contained within this product group. Product overviews, features, marketing links etc. are normally contained within the product group, with the product itself only having a short description and a list of optional add-ons. As a tenant reseller you can change any product or group description as desired. Tenant resellers are encouraged to copy Leader Cloud storefront branding, to minimize their marketing requirements. One of the actions which must be taken by tenant resellers, is to nominate new and featured products for the storefront. These products will be the main products shown when a customer accesses the storefront. When a new or featured product is nominated, it also needs to be selected in the storefront page, under the new and featured sections respectively. When setting up your tenant reseller account for the first time, there should be no requirement to adjust any items on a per product or price group level, however it is important to understand how products are handled. So, let's have a look at how we are going to make products or subscriptions available to our end users. To do this, please navigate to the price list section as shown. By default, no price list information is inherited from Leader Cloud, and we need to create your price list from scratch. To do this, please click the Add button as shown. It is of course possible to have multiple price lists, should you wish to enforce different price levels per end customer. For our example, we are strictly going to create one main price list for all our customers. Simply enter an easy name for your price list to get started. We do have an option to enable this price list for a specific period, however it's recommended to leave this as it is, in order to keep the price list functioning, even after there are price changes. We will expand on this later. It is recommended to leave the active option unticked, while you are applying changes to the price list. This is especially true in scenarios where you are assigning specific prices to the end users and you do not wish to expose them to Microsoft's default ERP prices while applying changes. You can optionally add a price list description if wanted, and once done we can click on Save. Now that the price list has been created, we need to assign products to it. As with so many parts of the cloud platform, there are again two methods of doing this. The first is by adding each product into the price list manually and maintaining each product's price individually. The second option is to add certain, or all products into price groups. We will look at the manual method first. To do this, navigate to the Products section as shown and click on Quick Add Product. As you can see, there's a huge number of products available, and it's for this reason that managing each individual product's price on a per product level is not recommended. Where the option to add pricing per product manually is very valuable, is when you want to adjust the pricing for only the products you know you will be selling most often, to a price you prefer. In our example, we will be setting a price on Microsoft 365 Business Standard, which we know is very popular among our customers. To do this, we can simply search for the product as shown. Select the product we want, and click the Insert to Selected button. If we wanted to set pricing for multiple products at the same time, we can repeat this step and insert multiple products into our selection. For our example, we will add the Business Basic product in as well. Now we need to apply pricing rules to these products. If we want to assign the exact same pricing rule for all products we've inserted in our selection, we can use the same pricing rule option. If we want to apply different pricing rules per product, we use the different pricing rule option. In our scenario, we will use different price rules per product. As you can see, each product we've selected is now shown and we can select our pricing method per product. We can also set different pricing strategies for monthly or annual subscriptions, if for example you want to apply better pricing when the customer takes an annual subscription. Please take very careful note of the next section, as setting incorrect prices may result in undercharging your customers, while Leader will still charge the full amount as indicated in your cost price. In the pricing methods, we have currency amount, % off sell price, % markup and % margin, as options. Let's briefly explain each pricing method. The currency amount option just applies a fixed price in Australian dollar to the product selected. If we were to enter an amount of $10 for the monthly price, we would naturally need to multiply this by 12 as my annual price. The problem with this pricing method is that you must manually update every price to the new dollar amount every time there is a price change from Microsoft, in order to avoid under or overcharging the customer. This pricing method effectively means you must manually check your pricing every month. The next option, % off sell, is normally the preferred method for most resellers. As the name implies, this method uses Microsoft's regulated ERP price as the main selling price, and the percentage off amount that you enter reduces the ERP price by that percentage accordingly. It is recommended to set a % off amount of 0%, which means all products will be sold exactly at Microsoft's ERP price. The last two pricing methods use your cost price as the base price, and adds margin or markup respectively, as per the percentage you select. In our scenario, we are going to assign two fixed prices to these products, and we'll use currency amount accordingly, with the prices we want to use. Please note, the amount you are entering is excluding GST. We can also adjust this pricing on a per product level later if needed. So, let's say you have added the pricing on all products which you wanted to manually adjust, but now want to apply pricing en masse to the rest of the products. Price groups would be the easiest way to get this done. To do this, we need to firstly create a new price group. Simply navigate to Setup, Products and Price Groups as shown. By default, some price groups will already be set up for your account, but it's recommended to select these groups and delete them instead. It is also possible to have multiple price groups. In our example, we will only have one price group, which will be used to sell strictly at Microsoft's ERP price. Just click on Add to create the price group, designate a name, and a description. The price group itself does not designate any pricing or discounts. Similar to product groups, it's strictly a container designed to group your products and prices together. Once the price group has been created, we can exit the setup mode again and navigate to the product section as shown. Firstly, we need to select all the products to which we are going to assign this price group. This is done by ticking the Display Products Assigned to Groups checkbox and selecting Non-Filter as the view option. We can now navigate to Actions, and the Bulk Assignment option is shown. Next, we need to tick the box which says Overwrite Price Groups, and click on the price group we want to use. The platform will now apply price groups to all your products and product groups. With this done, we can navigate back to our price list as shown. Now, we can use the Quick Add function again to add a price group instead of an individual product. Simply select the price group you have created, insert to selected, and then the same pricing rule function. It's important to only select the monthly and annual options at this point. Again, since we want to sell at Microsoft's ERP price, our pricing method will be % off sell price, with an amount of 0. This should now raise a question in your mind. My products are now assigned both manually in the price list, and, in the price group, which price takes preference? In short, prices which are assigned to products in the price list manually, take preference over price groups. So even though your products are both in the price group, and separately on the price list, the price set manually will be displayed on the storefront. Remember, you can leave off any products that you do not wish to sell to your end users by simply leaving them off your price list. Although our pricing and products have now been set up, they have not yet been assigned to any of your customers. At this point, there are two different paths to completing your setup. If you had any existing customers already transacting through Leader Cloud, they will need to be moved over to your tenant account. You will need to reach out to the Leader Cloud support team to initiate the transfer process, as this is handled on a case-by-case basis and has an impact on how subscriptions are charged. If you have not previously set up any customers or subscriptions, the process is easy, and all accounts can be set up on your own. We need to understand the relationship between accounts and contacts before we can continue. The easiest way to understand this is that an account would be your end user's business, and contacts are the individuals within that organization. One account can have multiple contacts. If, for example, they want to designate a contact for their accounts team and a contact for subscription issues, it's completely possible. Both accounts and contacts can be created manually via the BSS, or through the storefront, depending on your preference with regards to anonymous end user access, as described earlier. We will look at both methods. Firstly, we will manually create the account and contacts via the BSS. Simply navigate to Accounts as shown, click on Add, and we will begin setting up their account. The first field will prompt you to enter the account name, which should be the end user's business name. The field below this prompts you to enter an accounting number, which may be useful if you are intending to align the invoices and reports generated on your cloud platform with your ERP systems. The phone number, website and fax fields are less important, but may be useful when searching for the customer's account, or ERP purposes. The critical part here is to designate a main corporate email address. This email address will be used as the default communication method for any subscription failures, notifications, billing issues, etc. The next part deals with how the customer will be billed. The Enable Ordering checkbox will allow the end user to place orders on your storefront, with the billing settings you apply. If you have a scenario where you no longer wish to enable the end customer to place orders on your storefront, but still have access to their billing and subscription information, you can untick this option to restrict access. It is generally not recommended to delete an account after it has been created, even if you stop dealing with a specific customer. This is to ensure all billing, subscription management and cancellation notices will still take place when they are due. We are going to enable ordering for this customer as shown, and need to set up their billing info now. Please be sure to leave the Bill to Account option unticked. Next we can select the customer's state, which will be displayed on the customer's invoice accordingly. The payment methods we previously nominated now become available to us here. You can select credit terms or credit card payments, depending on how you have set up your organizational settings. If you wish to extend credit terms to your customers, you can enter a credit limit amount, which will also appear as a positive value shown on the end user's storefront. It's important to note that orders will be declined if the customer's allocated credit has been exceeded, and no payments have been added to their account. We will cover the payments in more detail later. You can optionally decide to enable unlimited credit for your customers as well. Please be sure to always leave the "Is taxable" checkbox ticked. Now we need to decide if we are going to enable prorated billing, and on which days we are wanting the customers to be billed. This would normally be used for accounts with credit terms. When enabling prorated billing, you have an option to bill any specific day you prefer, the first day of the month, the last day of the month, or the day on which the order is placed. Please note, only one billing day can be set. As an example, when enabling prorated billing for the first day of the month, orders which are placed during the month of June will only be billed and invoiced on the 1st of July. You can also adjust when you want any partial charges to be invoiced. Partial charges are initiated when a customer chooses to upgrade their subscriptions, seat counts, or even attach add-ons. We recommend setting partial charges invoicing to the billing day for customers with credit terms, and partial charges on order day for customers paying via credit card. This should align partial charges invoicing to the customer's normal invoicing cycles. Deciding the best course of action here might be tricky, and you are encouraged to reach out to your leader representative to discuss your setup scenario. It's possible to add the customer's registration or ABN number as well for record-keeping purposes. The Auto Invoice Notification checkbox allows the platform to automatically send an email notification to your end user, informing them when a new invoice has been generated, and where applicable, that their account has been charged accordingly. The option to enable reselling should be left unticked. Now we need to enter the customer's billing address. Please ensure this information is accurate and in line with what the customer has set up on their existing Microsoft tenant. If the customer is brand new to CSP and does not have an existing tenant, the billing information provided here will be used for vetting purposes by Microsoft. We can leave the remaining fields as it is for the time being, and simply save the account which we have just created. If you have multiple customers which you want to set up, it's recommended to do this now and just use the Save a New button to start creating the next account. When an account has been successfully created, you will be presented with an array of options and shortcuts on the left-hand side as shown. We will work through each of these options individually at a later stage, however it's worth noting that virtually all info which pertains to the customer's account will be available here. Information such as the contacts within their business, their associated price lists, orders, subscriptions and invoices are all easily accessible from the customer's account window. As the customer is brand new, none of this information will be populated. When a customer starts transacting, you will notice numbers assigned next to each field, which will allow you to get an overview of, for example, their invoices, with the ability to drill down into each invoice directly from an account level. As the next step, we need to assign contacts to the account we've just created. Again, remembering that the contact is an individual within the company. To do this, we need to click on the Add Contact button. We can now enter the contact's name, surname, and email address, along with a few optional fields if wanted. We also need to designate the role of this person within the organization. In other words, is this person the primary contact within the business, or just a storefront user? The difference between the two roles being, primary contacts receive all subscription cancellations, activations, failures and renewal reminders. Storefront users only have access to your storefront and can place orders. We also need to decide if the contact we are creating will have access to your storefront. For example, an accounts team member might not need access to your storefront as they will strictly handle billing issues. The primary contact is generally expected to have storefront access as they tend to be the ones placing orders, upgrading subscriptions, etc. To activate the contact as a storefront user, simply check the box as shown. We can now go ahead and save this contact and it will automatically be bound to the account which we have created. This can be confirmed again by navigating back to the Contacts section and hovering over the number. Next, we need to assign the price list which we have previously created to this account. To do this, simply click on the price lists button as shown, and then assign. You should see the price list we created, with the name having a strike through. This simply means the price list is not yet active. It does not stop us from assigning the price list though. Simply click the price list checkbox, insert to selected, and the add button is shown. If you have set up multiple price lists, be sure to assign the correct price list to each account. We have now basically set up the customer's account, and the final step is to activate the password, which each contact will use to access the storefront, provided they have storefront privileges. Normally, this step would be automated, and the contact will receive an email, via the nominated email address we entered, asking them to log into your cloud storefront and enter their password. Since we have not yet set up your platform's outgoing email settings, these notifications will not be sent to your customers, and we need another way to activate their accounts. This step might seem like it's done in hindsight, but this is the most common deployment scenario, with most tenant resellers instead opting to manually send the customer's login credentials as part of an onboarding email. We will cover the onboarding email in more detail shortly. To activate the newly created account and contact, please navigate back to Setup and enter the address as shown. Please now enter the email address of the contact which you have created, select Contact Activation, Storefront, and then Get Request URL. This will now create a URL which, once clicked on, will take you to the storefront and prompt you to enter a password. A strong random password is recommended. Please also be sure to keep a record of the password as you will need to share this with the customer via the onboarding email. If the URL is not appearing as shown, please be sure to check that the user has storefront access privileges, which we set up previously. Please remember that although the account and contacts have now been set up, the customer's tenant information is still absent. When we say tenant information, we are referring to the customer's on Microsoft account, as well as their default domain info. Additionally, customers need to accept the Microsoft Partner Agreement. We recommend entering these fields via the checkout process on your storefront, instead of trying to set it up via the BSS. As you will likely be acting as the trusted advisor for your customer and want to limit the amount of setup work that they have to do, we recommend setting up the first subscription on their behalf, entering their tenant information yourself, and then letting them self-manage their subscriptions from that point forward. This saves them a fair amount of work and you can be 100% sure the account information is correct. We will also be working through the checkout process later, to ensure you are familiar with the common challenges faced by customers. At this point, we recommend that you set up all the accounts and contacts as needed. Please ensure that all accounts have at least one storefront-enabled contact, an assigned price list and a notification plan. We will get back to notification plans in a moment. At the moment there is no mechanism to assign default price lists to new customers and you will be required to assign price lists as needed. Where no price list is assigned, pricing will default back to Microsoft's ERP prices. At this point, we are ready to start turning on key platform components in preparation to get started. The first thing we want to do is navigate back to our price lists, as shown, check the active tick box, and then save. Remember to activate all price lists if you have more than one set up. You should also have a list of customers which have this price list assigned, displayed below. Next, we need to enable our notification plans. Simply navigate to Setup, Notifications and Notification Plans as shown. By default, a general invoice notification plan will have been set up on your tenant reseller account. We can click on this plan to edit it. The core purpose of a notification plan is to automate payment reminders, credit card clearance notifications and retry intervals, credit usage notifications, and most importantly, it automates the process for subscription and account suspensions based on non-payment. This tool is extremely powerful and should be set up with a degree of caution, as incorrect configurations here will have a direct impact on end customer subscriptions. If set up incorrectly, this could lead to data loss for the customer. Should you wish, You can set up multiple notification plans, assigned to different accounts, if for example you want to extend more leniency to certain accounts. To get started, we can rename the notification plan or add a description if required. The Entities section deals with the notification plans for the various components within your cloud platform. We will start with the Invoices entity. It's recommended to set at least one plan as the default plan, so the notification plan will automatically be assigned to newly created customer accounts. By ticking the Copy Notification checkbox, all notifications which are sent from your cloud platform will also appear under the Notifications section of your BSS. The reminders which are set below are typically set for accounts with credit terms. If you are not using credit terms for your customers, it's still recommended to review this section as the notification settings will be similar for credit card payments. All reminders have flexible days which can be set. We just need to check the boxes as shown to either enable or disable a specific reminder. Reminders set here take customer terms into account, and if we enable the unpaid invoice reminder for example, the system will wait 7, 14 or 30 days respectively and send the reminder, X days before payment is due. In our example, we want to remind the customer that payment for their account is due within 2 days. We can then select the notification which we wish to send to them. During the notification branding process, you will have likely specified the terms of your payment reminder process, and it's important to make sure the invoice reminder aligns to what's stated in your notification. You can always double-check this by going back to the notification. You can also use customized notifications as wanted. In our example, we will use the invoice unpaid reminder. For our example, we also want to set first and second overdue payment notifications, 2 and 7 days after payment was due, respectively, with their associated notifications. Next, we want to decide how to handle suspensions and cancellations. Again, please take care with these settings as they have a direct impact on end-user subscriptions. The first option we have is to suspend a subscription within X period of days, if the pro forma invoice is overdue. This will not only suspend the subscription on your cloud platform, but on Microsoft's Partner Center as well. A subscription can automatically be reactivated as well when payment is added. And lastly, we can cancel a subscription completely within X period of days if no payment is received. This action is irreversible and should not be actioned without exhausting all other options. If your tenant reseller account is not integrated with your own ERP system, please also keep in mind there might be delays in allocating payment between your ERP and BSS systems manually. Human error is also possible, which can lead to accidental suspensions and cancellations. It's recommended to enable reminders and suspension actions only once you've completely familiarized yourself with the billing flow of the BSS. Next, we can look at the credit card clearance notifications. Similar to how we have set up payment reminders, we can now enable or disable notifications based on credit card payments and credit card payment failures. It's recommended to set up the payment failure notification as a minimum, so customers are aware of card declines and can take corrective actions accordingly. Next, we can set the retry interval and retry attempts count. It's recommended to allow at least a couple of days before attempting to initiate a retry. This should also raise a question on how subscriptions are handled where retry attempts have failed and funds cannot be collected. Similar to how accounts with credit terms are handled, payment failures via credit card automatically create overdue invoices, which are handled by the overdue notifications and subscription suspension services we set up in the Proforma invoice entity. Lastly, we need to look at the credit limit entity. This again follows the same logic as the other entities, with the difference being that you can control at which percentage of credit usage a customer's account receives notifications or gets suspended. Important, the suspension actions taken here suspends the user on an account level, not subscription level. Meaning an account can be suspended while the subscription still remains active. One of the last setup steps in the BSS is to configure our organization profile and email settings. Simply navigate to System Options and Organization Profile as shown. First, let's add our company name as the organization name. Secondly, let's again use the Click to Replace function and change the logo to our own company logo. This logo will be used within the BSS and can be left unchanged if wanted. Third, let's review the login attempts and idle timeouts. The maximum login attempts can be set as desired and controls how many times an end user can attempt to log into the storefront before the account is automatically blocked. Below this we can set how long the customer's login session will remain active before expiring. It's a good idea to increase this length, as many customers will do research while placing orders and they might get logged out accidentally. Lastly and most important, we need to set up our email preferences. This is where we set up the main email address which is used for sending notifications from your cloud platform. The email settings are self-explanatory, however caution should be taken before activating this feature. When the mail server becomes active, all automated notifications will begin sending, and if the customer is unaware of your platform, it can lead to confusion. There are more features within this page which are fairly easy to understand and can be set up as desired. Once this is done, we have fully set up our cloud platform and you should now be able to begin billing your end users. Let's quickly recap what we have done so far to make sure we did not miss anything. We've set up our storefront, added our own company logos, and completed all rebranding. We've decided how users are going to access our storefront, and how we are going to display their prices. We've added our own banners and support contact info to the storefront. We've set up our privacy policies. We've enabled our payment gateways. And we've set up our storefront URL. Next we rebranded both the invoices and notifications. We also created accounts for every user within our own organization to access the BSS. We've created and assigned the price lists. We created the customer accounts and set up their storefront access. We revised our notification settings, and lastly we set up our organization profile and mail settings. This concludes the setup training, and although our storefront is now live and operational, there's still a bit of work to do. During the next training sessions, we will review the standard ordering process for customers, what they get stuck on most frequently, all their frequently asked questions, and what you should include in their welcome emails. We will also discuss standard procedures for handling order cancellations, order creation, customer tenant management, adding payments, and all the day-to-day administrative tasks within your BSS. Thank you for watching, and as always, should you get stuck anywhere, please do reach out to us on csp@leadercloud.com.au.